Let's talk about innovation, a term which is abused so much. Not everything is innovation, not everything is invention. Let's try to figure out what's the difference, and why should you care. So, innovation uh, goes through 10 stages, and let me explain what is innovation. Why are these 10 uh, stages or 10 ways of innovating? Broadly, these 10 steps, or these 10 approaches, or 10 methods, or 10 ways of innovating fall in three categories: innovations which are configuration oriented, innovations which are offering oriented, and innovations which are experience oriented. Let me go deeper in each one of them. So, profit model innovation, which is basically how the organization turns its value into profit. Innovative examples would be Gillette flipping their profit model from expensive razors with cheap refills to selling the handles very cheaply and charging more for the blades. This was a completely different way of looking at profit modeling, right? Thus, teaching consumers that blades are disposable and they don't need to be sharpened and maintained. Or Hilti. Hilti is a very popular industrial appliances company who provides power tools for the construction industry. And it offers a subscription service, which means companies no longer need to own the tools, which removes the need to service and maintain expensive equipment. A second way of innovation is the network based, which is the value that is created by working with others. We have all heard of network effects, right? So we are ever more connected today, and it becomes essential for firms to work with others to gain processes, technology, or brand credibility. Open innovation is itself a form of network innovation, leveraging the skills and expertise of people outside your firm. The US retail firm Target is a good example. With its extensive partnering network, including Michael Graves, the architect who designed a range of kitchen appliances, they've been able to innovate and move very fast as compared to other companies. Another method of innovation, another approach is where you can innovate on structure, which is how you organize the talent and assets within your company. How have you organized the entire assets and talents that you have, or structured your talents and assets? When done well, these are very hard for competitors to copy, right? This also manifests into culture. A lot of people say, right, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if you do this structuring really well, you might have a very, very awesome edge. WL Gore is famous for its flat organization structure. Teams are often small and driven by commitments rather than management orders. All employees become shareholders after a year. What a fantastic approach. Zappos and its holacracy would be another structural innovation example. I will recommend to read up Zappos story. Another interesting way to innovate is process or process driven innovation. How a company goes about producing its products and services, its core operations. That is what defines this process based innovation. Sometimes it's a patented approach or a breakthrough methodology, such as Toyota's lean production. Toyota's lean production completely changed how car manufacturing was happening. Zara has risen to prominence in the retail industry with its reimagining of the fashion supply chain. They made fast fashion possible, where they were able to take a sketch through to the shop floor within weeks instead of months. And that's why Zara was able to rise up so very fast. Another very interesting way to innovate is product performance. What is product performance? Well, the quality, the feature set, and the capability of a firm's products kind of define the product performance. This is often considered the total sum of innovation and revolves around the R&D department. So it's very research oriented innovation. It's certainly important, but only one of the 10 types. Okay, so a lot of people and a lot of companies focus a lot on research. While research definitely gives you an edge, but it's not the only one or it's the best one. Nothing like that. There are many other ways to innovate. Um for example, one example of this R&D approach taken for innovation is from Dyson. So Dyson's breakthrough dual cyclone technology with no bag, taking 15 years and more than 5,000 products to produce. That is how Dyson's vacuum cleaners and all the other products came about, without any bag, without any vacuum bag. Or Corning's Gorilla Glass. Almost all of us would have heard about Corning's Gorilla Glass, right? It's a core component of many leading technology brands, and they have done a fantastic job at coming up with very sturdy, very strong glasses, right? The origins of this was the research that they invested in, and that is what resulted into very distinguishable features and functionality, which is the signal of a product performance. Another example is the Jaipur foot. If you have not heard of it, it's a handmade artificial foot, okay, originated in India. It's another example of successful product innovation, and and falls squarely in the product performance area. There are more than 5.5 million amputees in India, and most of them live below the poverty line, thus not affording the health care. The most important issue for these people is then to be able to go back to work, which is essential for their survival. However, most amputees were fitted with prostheses, which were not very flexible and not offering a wide range of motion. Therefore, the Jaipur foot is a prosthesis that matches the active lifestyle of the poor and allows squatting, sitting cross-legged, climb, working in wet fields, and walking barefoot. Amazing innovation. I'll recommend that you check that out. Another very interesting innovation is, or a method of approaching innovation is product system, which is how do you create additional value by adding other firms' products and services to yours, or how you combine multiple products to create significantly more value. The web browser Mozilla, for example, the Mozilla Firefox, is built on open source software and allows developer to create add-ons to enrich the product. Now that approach, that methodology, or that um, business innovation was carried forward in all the app stores and the Chrome stores and the web stores that came about. Right? Oscar Mayer offers Lunchables, combinations of food snacks for school lunches, making it easy for parents and fun for kids. That's another way of combining multiple products and services from different companies or your own products and creating a system around it. Gillette, after introducing Gillette Venus, which was essentially a shaving system or shaving kit for women, followed it up with other complementary products like disposable blades, shaving gel, refillable razors, etc. Another way to innovate is simply on service. How you make your products easier to use, more enjoyable, or get better value from. Zappos is famous for its customer service, with employees empowered to take the initiative to solve the customer issues. Whether it means spending hours on the phone with them or sending them flowers, they have done it all, and it's very well documented. There's another company called Men's Warehouse, which offer lifetime pressing on their suits and coats. Very interesting approach to get lifelong loyalty, right? Next would be channel, which is how your offerings are delivered to the customers and the users. So the channel approach of innovation signifies how you connect with your customer. It differs from network, okay, in that it's not about whom you work with to make those connections, but more about the ways in which you connect. Nike's Niketown flagship stores, if you've heard of them, offers a rich and unique experience for shoppers, which product with product launches, athletic staff, including ex-basketball professionals. QR code. Tesco Home Plus figured out a way of gaining market share without the need for expensive new stores, while at the same time helping time poor commuters to do their shopping more efficiently. So the virtual stores are located at platforms so that the commuters can shop via their smartphone by clicking the QR code of the product that they want through an app, so that the product gets saved in their cart followed by home delivery. What an interesting way to use channels, right? Or creating new channels. Next innovation is brand. Uh, your brand can be a powerful innovation in itself, and it can represent the values you stand for, or a simple but big idea that resonates with customers. Virgin is a classic example of brand, led by Sir Richard Branson, and companies such as Virgin Atlantic Airways, Virgin Records, Virgin Trains, Virgin Galactic, and so on. Virgin stands for being different and fun, spicing up the industries in which it ventures. Intel is another powerful brand, making a computer component so valuable that having the Intel inside on the box elevates the value of the overall product, right? Apple is another one. And lastly, customer engagement, which is how do you create interactions which you can foster and which you can leverage. So how you understand and then leverage the desires and needs of your customers. If you can do that, you can really innovate very well. They can be hard to spot, often sitting amongst one of the other nine types, which is the other ones, the configuration ones, the offering ones. The question is how to interact with your customer and delight them. Blizzard Entertainment, who makes World of Warcraft, it's a game, right, is an expert at customer engagement, understanding what makes users play for hundreds of hours and what drives them to collaborate and connect with other users. Apple, of course, is another company that thrives on the engagement of its devotees, right? The business centric innovation, which is the configuration part of things, or configuration bucket, is usually focused on the business side of things. This It's much more business centric. Okay, and the idea typically is to configure the assets that you have. So it could be the profit model, it could be the network, it could be the structure, it could be the process, so that you can capture more value. Okay, while the offering part is much more platform centric. Okay, you're trying to reinvent or recombine to create value. So you're creating product systems, or you're looking at research or something. And finally, the experience is experience centric innovation, where you're trying to engage the customers differently, smartly to deliver value. And typically, the experience one is much more difficult to copy, and that's why it becomes a very interesting competitive advantage if done right. While the configuration or offering are slightly, they're also equally. I mean, they can also be very very powerful differentiators, but experience one is a little more difficult to copy. For example, Airbnb just didn't do one innovation; it did five innovations. It did innovation in profit model, which was taking a cut from the commissions. Um, the process of finding a room, finding a hotel in a new city, in a new place, the product performance, their entire quality of product and the entire design, everything was superb. Their service and their channel, which was online, which was mobile, and I'm talking about nowadays everything is mobile, but I'm talking about when Airbnb came out, right? Uh, Being mobile first or being mobile friendly became a massive uh, uh, differentiator for them. This is another. I mean, in this place, I've just focused on what are the different examples for each of these models, right? So business model and networking. Um, Dell was all about business model. Dell was essentially just assembling a lot of assembling good computers. That's all it was doing, right? And they were able to create a good business model around it, which is how the enterprises makes money, right? Target use a lot of networking, correct? Uh, Process driven, I would say Siebel was a very good example. GE Capital for core process, they were able to create proprietary processes that add value, right? Intel Pentium was a breakthrough technology. It was able to foster a next generation of computers, and was purely R&D, right? Product system, Microsoft Office, best example, right? Extended system that surrounds an offering. So Microsoft Office lets you work properly, and for that they have document, they have Microsoft Word, they have Microsoft presentation, PowerPoint, they have Microsoft Excel, and then there are a whole bunch of other products that came out. service, which is FedEx, right? How do you serve your customer? Best example, FedEx. Then you have Nighttown, then you have Virgin, then you have Lexus, correct? Uh, a good framework to think when it comes to innovation is big picture thinking versus detailed thinking, and futuristic versus present. So what you need to do is you need to define the principle. When you're looking at big picture innovation in the present, in the past and present time, you should be looking at defining the principles, what matters most and why. Okay. Now from the so once you have seen the big picture, right? Or simply you start from this side, see the past and present in new ways. So what you do is you define the principles which matters most right now and why. Okay, which will help you in defining the big picture. Once you have that, then you can start dreaming ideas that what if and what if, correct? Which will help you in seeing the future in new ways. Now once you have seen the future, you can design experiments, right? So that you're getting to the details. Once you start designing the experiments from those vague, very large, very high level ideas, you have a very detailed approach. You have come to the detailed side of things. And then once you have experimented, you start doing observations. You look at the you do an observation of what happened and why it happened, which will again bring you back to the present, that okay, this is what is happening, and this cycle keep on repeating. And this is the method of innovation. This is one way to look at how can you innovate. The only two things I will suggest is, uh, while innovation can be confusing, can be there could be a lot of false positives or false alarms that yeah, this is a new thing which will be very different and so on. I'll suggest that, and this is a very high level recommendation. Always look at whether you are innovating on the right things that matter to your company right now or matter to your product right now. Uh, and are you innovating in the right ways? Are you innovating in the right ways which are scalable or which are relevant or which will not go obsolete very fast or which will be affordable in the future and so on, right? In like if you just remove all the formal 10 steps and everything, just try to look at these two things. And another very important framework that I want to share here is when you're coming up with new ideas or ideas that you would like to capitalize on, it's very important to always look at where do you stand in the market versus technology space, right? Uh, I also call this framework as known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns, which is basically you start from um, the known market and known technology. So existing market that we currently serve and existing technology that we currently serve. So your horizon one opportunities or the ideas or the innovation that you're looking at improving your existing offering. You're looking at adding variants, adding reducing the cost, extending the product, and so on. So typically, you should spend about 70% of your entire time or your resources on just these opportunities, right? Or you should look at that whether the innovation that you're talking about is it falling in this category or is it falling in some other category, because according to that you can assign the right resources, right amount of resources. If you're doing too much of futuristic stuff, your short term goals will get affected. If you're doing too much of short term things, your long term objectives will get disrupted. So this 70% category, the horizon one opportunities, fall in the known knowns category. You know the market, you know the technology. Then the known unknowns, which is you know the market and you know the technology, but you don't use it. So you do not know what will happen when you start using it. Do we have the resources? Do we need to hire the resources and things like that? So in those spaces, you typically look at those opportunities which will help you in doing in adjacent growth or help you build next generation of products, right? And you should typically spend 20%. Now this ratio will vary from company to company, but this is just for a guideline. And finally, unknown unknowns, where you do not know much about the market or about the technology. right? And you are trying to explore completely new markets, which could be new geographies or new categories, and similarly new technologies altogether. For example, a lot of companies are now trying to explore blockchain, uh, and figuring out what are the use cases which they can use. And this is the horizon three opportunities, and these are like the long term opportunities. So you should be spending consistently like 10% of your time. Now, when we are talking about innovation here, and especially when we spoke about that product performance based innovation, we spoke about R&D, we spoke about a lot of new things, right? Uh, a very important um, framework that I typically follow is this one, technology readiness levels, which was proposed by NASA. That when you have essentially just look at the four buckets, right? You have an idea, which is the stage at which you're doing the knowledge development. You got an idea, which is an unproven concept, no testing has been performed. Then you do some basic research. Uh, you describe the needs, but there's no evidence. Then you create a technology, or you figure out what technology can be used to build upon this idea. So concept and application have been formulated, followed by validation. You validate the needs. So initial offering is ready, and stakeholders like what you have made. So the needs have been validated, and the idea has progressed to this stage. Next stage is prototyping, and this falls in the technology development stage. Uh, so technology development goes from small scale prototype, which is basically you're testing in a laboratory environment, because this was NASA, so that's why laboratory environment, or in your own small space, in your own small user scenarios and things like that. Once this has been proven in a small scale, then you will do a large scale prototype, and you will try to test it in relevant environment. So, for example, the small scale prototype could be your office, your colleagues testing your product, and followed by your actual users testing it at slight larger scale. And then finally, you go with a first successful prototype. Then you prototype to validation, which is where you do the successful demo, which is where the product is kind of ready and available at a pre-commercial scale. So you have gone out and you're ready with your first product, going into first successful application, and then finally full commercial application, which is where you are in a production ready environment. So it's very important when you're exploring new technologies, whether it is blockchain or whether it is something else. It's very important to understand where does this technology exist in the entire spectrum. Now, blockchain might be very very new, or AI might be, or a certain implementation of AI might be very very new for you. So you need to understand where does this fall in this entire scale, number one. Number two, certain things might be actually very old. For example, React, or let's say Android, as a Android app might be already done and dusted. A lot of people, I mean, it's a known thing. You have a lot of developers, and you have a lot of documentation already available. But for you yourself, and for your own scenario, you might not have tested a lot of um, uh, Android apps, or you might not have implemented a lot of React in your product development. In which case, it makes sense to do incremental changes and know that whether we are ready as with this technology or not. So technology readiness works in both the ways. Whether you're testing it for implementation in your product, or you're simply looking at whether as a company or as a team, are we ready with the technology that we're talking about. And lastly, I just want to talk about invention cycle. So invention and innovation. Invention is usually about coming up with a idea. That's it. You have invented a new way of doing something, right? Now that invention may or may not be commercialized, right? Which is where the difference or the distinction is typically corroborated. So invention cycle involves creativity, then innovation, then entrepreneurship, then imagination, then creativity. So effectively, you imagine something that doesn't exist, then you apply it to address a challenge, then you apply creativity to develop unique ideas, which is the innovation, and then finally you convert those innovation to fruition, that you make it readily available and viable, right? This is the entire invention cycle. This is very theoretical, I understand, but these frameworks will help you very soon when you move into building your own products plus doing your cases. In fact, in your cases, you will very clearly see how innovations were implemented and how invention cycles were uh, executed. So, to conclude, uh, innovation as a term has been abused a lot, and people do not differentiate between the different kind of innovations and what are the and which innovations are actually defensible and which innovations are not so much defensible. And typically, the more different types of innovations you can introduce in a similar product on the same offering, the more powerful differentiation you can have. So when you a lot of times when you will come up with your ideas, um, when you'll come up with your ideas, I'll suggest that you look at how many different kind of innovations you have introduced, how many different and how defensible each one of them are. You know, this will help you in having the right differentiation, and this will also help you in explaining your product's unique ability or USP to the team and to your business stakeholders and to the customers in a much better way. A lot of times, in fact, this innovation uh, definition can itself be used in the marketing collaterals. Obviously, you have to make it much more consumer friendly, but you can use each one of these terms itself in your marketing collateral, right? So keep the I'll recommend that you keep this 10 different types of innovations handy. It will be very useful for you. That's it for now. Take care.